Hi, my name is Arcade Castañaga and I am the Product Manager of Cloud Solutions at HMS. In today's demo, we are going to see how to configure the standard cloud control gateway to communicate using the Modbus TCP protocol with several Modbus devices. In order to configure the gateway, we are going to use Intesis Maps configuration tool. This tool is well known for many of you, since this is the configuration tool used by Intesis for configuring many of the gateways we manufacture. Once we have configured the gateway for communicating with the devices and we have created all the communication points, what we are going to do is we are going to make sure, using maps as well, that the communication between the gateway and the HMS hub is established. Once we know that everything is working as it should, we are going to go to the web user interface and we are going to link the configured gateway with a SD Cloud control user account. And we will see how all the configured devices with the control points are auto-generated in the dashboard for us to monitor and control everything within the installation. Of course, we will see as well how we can customize some of these created widgets just for us to identify and to understand what is in the installation. In this use case, we see petrol stations in different locations, and the customer needs are to control and monitor the appliances of our petrol stations from a common dashboard. Standard cloud control fits perfectly in this type of dispersed installations thanks to the cloud technology used. The first clear advantage is that there is no need to create any VPN for the communication in between the control and monitoring tool and the gateways on each location. We just have to open an outgoing port in the firewall of each petrol station, in this case, for the gateway to communicate with the hub. Then the dashboards will pull and push the data from the hub to the gateways through that port. This easy installation facilitates a lot the project commissioning. Another very clear advantage is that there is no need to install any specific software at all on each location if local control is needed. Sharing the devices with the users and giving to each of them the corresponding access permissions is more than enough. Then those users can access with their credentials the dashboard using a web browser or even an end-user-oriented iPhone or Android application, and they will be monitoring and controlling just the devices they have access to. Now, we will see how to install a new gateway in another location. In this case, we are going to be adding a new device in a petrol station in France, in Paris. And we will be adding it to the common dashboard just for it to be monitored the same way that the devices on Barcelona and Madrid and so on. Once we have all the devices in the global dashboard, then we will share with another user the devices in Paris just for local control, just for somebody else to be able to monitor and control them. So we just, let's open the maps and let's start with the configuration. Once we have the maps configuration tool opened, we have to create a new project for configuring the gateway. We select here a standard cloud icon just for filtering the templates we are going to use. As we can see here, we have two different templates. The first one is the BACnet template, so we will select that one if we are going to be configuring the gateway to work as a BACnet MSTP master or if it's going to be working as a BACnet IP client. The second one, the Modbus template, it's going to be selected if we want to configure the gateway to work simultaneously as a Modbus RTU master and as a Modbus TCP client. As we've seen in the use case, we are going to be configuring the connection with some Modbus TCP devices. So the template we are going to be using is Modbus template. So we double click on it and we open the template. First thing we have to do is go to connection and refresh the devices we have in the network. Here we have two different devices in the network, so we will have to pay attention to the MAC address here. I know that the gateway I have to configure is MAC address finishes with an 8D, so this is the gateway I'm going to be configuring, so I need to connect to it. Once I am connected, we can move forward and go to the configuration tab. In this configuration tab, first thing we have to do is select a proper name to the gateway. In this case, I'm going to call the gateway Paris, France, petrol station. So whenever I see it, I'm going to be able to identify the gateway straight on. Here we are going to be using DHCP. I have a DHCP server here in the installation, so I'm going to be using that. If I want to select a static IP address, I have to deselect this, enter the IP address, select the subnet mask, enter here the default gateway for the gateway to know how to access the internet, and right here a DNS address as well. I'm going to set up here a password for the project so I can remember later on. I'm going to set up admin all lowercase, something easy I will remember. I won't be editing any conversion, and it's important here to enable the time configuration. The gateway is going to be in Paris, so I select Paris here, and that's it. It's important to select the time zone because some functionalities in the cloud, they use time. For example, the scene, you can execute a certain scene based on time. So the gateway needs to be configured in a time zone just for it to be executing the scenes and more functionalities in the right time. We can configure as well here an NTP server communication for synchronization with the clock. So we are not going to be using that, so we can move forward. Once we have finished here in general, setting the DHCP and selecting the right time zone after changing the name, we move forward and we go to try communicating the gateway with the devices on field. We are going to be using Modbus master, we are going to be using Modbus TCP, and we will be creating a new node. First thing, change the name node. We are going to be calling this node petrol station Paris, for example. The IP address of the gateway, I know that it's 192.168.1, and let me check it here, it's 133. The port for communicating is going to be the 502, and we do have already one device created. We are going to be communicating with 4 different devices. We are going to be configuring 1 thermostat, 2 lights, and 1 energy meter. So we have 1, we have to add 3 other devices to make it 4. Okay, so as I said, the first Modbus device is going to be a thermostat. The slave number is going to be slave number 1. We are going to say that it is in Paris and that it is Modbus. Okay, here we are going to select the light 1. As I said, this is going to be in Paris, and it's going to be a Modbus device. The name is something for us to remember later on in the configuration what we are configuring, okay? So I think that light 1 Paris Modbus device is going to be meaningful enough for me to remember what I am going to be mapping later on, okay? So you can select the name you want. The important thing here is to know what is the slave address the device uses, okay? So here we are going to have a second light, as I said, it's going to be light 2, this is going to be in Paris located as well, and I say that it is a Modbus device, and the very last one is going to be a meter. It's going to be as well located in Paris, and it's going to be a Modbus device. So we have 4 devices, the communication for 4 devices already established. It's slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, and slave 4, and it's a thermostat, 2 lights, and a meter. So now the communication with the Modbus devices is already configured, so we select all of them because we are going to be using all of them in TCP. Now we can move to the standard cloud. We see here 3 devices already configured. These are examples, so we can change them at our will. The first one, as we see here, it has 3 different widgets already created for you to understand better what we are going to be doing. So we are going to be just modifying these devices, okay? So this device 0, we said that is going to be a thermostat, okay? And that thermostat here, it has widgets. Many of you will know what a widget is, and some of you may not. So let's explain what a widget is. A widget is basically a component created to appear in the front end that enables the users to perform a function or to access a service. You will understand it better with an example. For example, here, imagine that we have a thermostat in this case, and we want to join this thermostat with an action in the field. For example, we are going to create an on-off. We are going to create a widget for turning on or off that thermostat. We will create another widget to enable another function, for example, a set point. So we will enable a widget to access a variable within the device to change the temperature. Or another one may be, for example, to read the value of the temperature sensor. And you can imagine many different widgets here, okay? So let's start creating them. For example, we have the thermostat. The thermostat is located in Paris. So let's use a meaningful name. So this very first widget we are going to call, for example, on off. Here we have 3 different options. An enumeration, we will describe it later on. We have an analog, we will describe it later on. And we have a binary, which is the one we are going to be using at the moment for an on and off widget. Okay, so this is a read and write, because we are going to be reading and writing that variable. We can either monitor the variable, and we can as well change the value, and everything is going to be done in the same variable. So we have a read write. We are going to be using 1 bit only for this widget, and we are going to add 2 different values. One is going to be on, and the other one is going to be off. The on value is going to have 1 value, and the other one is going to be when it is 0. And this very last line is for the message to show when the value is not 1 or 0. In these cases, we want it to show error. And the initial value is going to be 0 in this case. You can select 1 or you can leave it empty, whatever you want. So as you will see, here we have a widget, which is a function or a service to perform an action within the device. So we are going to turn it off or on depending on what we do on this widget. Later on we will be binding with Modbus variables on field. So we will create here another variable, as we say, for example, a temperature. This is going to be the temperature measured by the thermostat. It has a sensor, a temperature sensor, is going to be showing the value. So this is an analog value. Is a number. This is read only, since we can only read the value of the sensor, and the values are going to go in between minus 20 degrees, let's say, and the maximum value is going to be 60. We hope the thermostat doesn't reach these values anyways. And here we set 0.5 is going to be the step, and the unit to show is going to be, we hope we go here to temperatures. What is the temperature here? Energy. Where is the temperature? Here, temperature. Degrees Celsius. Okay? So the default value here is going to be 25. So we have configured a widget temperature. It's going to be analog with only the values are going to go in between minus 20 to 60, and the step is going to be 0.5. Celsius is going to be the unit, and the default value is going to be 25. Let's create another one, for example. It's going to be a set point. You are expert already in this, so this widget is going to be as well an analog. This one is going to be read and write, since we can read the value of that set point, or we can either change it as well. The value here is going to be, let's say, in between 18 degrees and 34, let's say. The step is going to be 0.5 as well, and the unit is going to be the same one as before. It's going to be in Celsius. So there we are, Celsius, and the default value is going to be 25. Okay, and we will create a very last widget. We create widgets from here. We had 3 already created. We have just modified them, and if we want to create, we go here to the device. We select the device and we add a widget here, so the widget is added. And this time we're gonna add a mode, for example. A mode can be, let's say, cool, dry, and so on. So we are gonna be selecting here an enumeration. It's going to be the value. It's gonna be as well read and write, since we can be monitoring what the status is, and we can as well be modifying the mode. So we said that we were going to create 4 different values. So we create 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first one, let's say, is gonna be cool. The second one is gonna be dry, for example. The third one is gonna be heat, and the very last one is gonna be area. So the values can be all 1. So the first one is going to be, if it values 0, we will say that it's cool mode. If it values 1, it's going to be dry. If the value of the variable is true, we will say that it's heat. And if it's 3, it's going to be auto. If the value is none of these, we are going to show an error in our window. So we have already created a device with 4 different widgets. So let's create, for example, selecting here, let's add a light, for example, and the light one we configured before. It's going to be a light in Paris, so it's going to be light 1 Paris, and we are going to create, for example, here 3 widgets. For example, the on/off, the brightness, and the illuminance. So let's create the widgets. So 1, 2, 3. We come here. We have 3 widgets created. We select all of them. We go to the first one. We said that it was going to be on, off. As we said before, this is going to be a binary value. It's going to be read and write. We are going to use 1 bit. We create 2 possible values. One is going to be on. The other one is going to be off. On is going to be when the bit value is 1. When the bit value 0 is off. And when we have any other value, we are going to show error. So we have the first one, we will create another widget. We said that this one was going to be the brightness. So let's go here to write brightness. The value is going to be an analog. The brightness is going to be a value we said. It's going to be something in between 100, in between 0 and 100. The step is going to be 0.5. And we are gonna measure that in luxes. So let's see, frequency, humidity, light, luxes. There we have. So we have here brightness. It's gonna be an analog, read write 0-100, step of 0.5 in luxes, and the default value is gonna be 0. Okay, so we have it created. Something very cool here is. Now we're going to be creating the illuminance, okay? The illuminance is very similar to the brightness. The configuration is pretty much the same, but we have to change some values. So what we can do is we can click here and clone this widget. So cloning this one, we are going to devices to add 1. So we click here to apply, and here we have brightness 0. This brightness 0, we said, is what's going to be illuminance. So its illuminance is going to be an analog, but this time it's not going to be read and write. This one is going to be just reading, because it's going to be the sensor measuring how many luxes we have. The value is going to be in between 0 and let's say 1000, and it's going to be measuring in luxes as well, and the step is going to be the same. So we can duplicate widgets when they are very similar. So since we have this one, we select this one, we go here and we delete this, because we are not going to be using. We have created already one light, not another one. And the configuration is going to be the same. So what we do is, as we did with the brightness widget, just cloning it, we go to the light and we can clone it as well. we want one device, so we apply, and here we have light, true, Paris. So if we check in the inside, we have on-off is properly set up, brightness is properly set up, and the illuminance is properly set up. So just clicking here, we can clone as many devices as we want. So the very last one we have to create, we said that it was going to be an energy meter, so we call it meter Paris. We are going to add, let's say, one widget, and this widget, we select it. This widget is going to be called, let's say, power. It's going to be an analog. Since this is going to be a meter, it's just reading. The value is going to go in between 0 and, let's say, 1000. The step is going to be 0.1 in this case, let's say. And the units here are going to be watts per hour. So we will see if we have here watts per hour. Watts per hour. There we are. And the default value is going to be 0. So we have everything selected because we want all the configuration to be sent to the cloud. We want as well all devices to be selected here, so we have to make sure everything is selected. Imagine that we have created some widgets and we don't want them to be created in the cloud. Just deselecting bits should be enough, but we want to create all of this in the cloud, so it's important to have everything selected here and everything selected here. When we have filled all the fields here, all the tabs here, we move to signals. Here in signals, we are going to be doing the mapping. We have created in one side the devices with their widgets in the cloud, and we have created the communication with the Modbus slaves. So what we have to do is bind the devices in the cloud with the devices in the field. So how many widgets are we creating here? We have 4, 7, 8, 11. So we come to signals, we select down below here 11, and we add all of them. Then we come here, okay? So we created these 11 different entries, so we have to go and select the devices. In this case, it's going to be the thermostat, it's going to be an on-off, read write. Remember that this one was just a binary, so we have to select which one is going to be the bit. It's going to be the bit 0. We're going to be selecting here, let's make it bigger because we typed long names so they don't fit in here. So we are going to create a thermostat. It's a slave 1, it picked up from the configuration, and the position in the memory is going to be the address 0. So let's go now to the thermostat in Paris. Now it's going to be the temperature. What we are mapping is read only. It's an analog. It doesn't have any bits, so we don't have to map anything in there. We select the thermostat. It's a slave 1, so we know, or we have to check in the manual where that value is within the device. I know that it's in the memory position in the address number 1, so we select 1 in there. Now in the thermostat in Paris, the temperature, we have to go and select it. The set point is a read and write, it's not a binary, so we have to select nothing here. We select here the thermostat as well, and this one is going to be in position memory address number 2. So we go again to Paris, and the very last one, the mode, we select it here, the thermostat, and here the address is going to be the third one. So we have to select here the devices we are adding, the widgets, and here the memory positions and the binding with the Modbus slaves. Okay, here now I'm going to be adding the light. I know that it has 3 different values. One was on off, the other one was the brightness, and the other one was the illuminance. I knew that the first one it was a binary, so I come here now and I select light 1, light 1, light 1 in Paris, and is slave address number 2, and the memory positions are going to be 0, 1, and 2. These memory positions is something I know they are. I go and I do the same with light 2. I know we have 3 different widgets. One is on off, the other one is the brightness, and the other one is the illuminance. Here the on off it's a binary, so I select the input 0. the bit 0, sorry, I come here to the line number 2, which is the slave number 3. It's auto-populating everything already. And I have to select now the memory addresses. So it's going to be 0, 1, and 2. And the very last one is going to be the meter. I deselected this one. Let me change it back. I selected both two cells at the same time and I messed it around. The meter interface, I know that this is a power, it's read only. I had a meter already configured in Modbus, it is here, and the memory position is number 2. Important as well, we have mapped everything. We may not want to send anything to the cloud, to do any mapping and to send it to the gateway. So we have to select whatever we want to send. So we select all created widgets and the all selected mappings for them to be sent to the gateway. Here in the description field, you can enter, for example, on, off, thermostat in Paris. So you can enter here a description of the binding just for later on. Remember what means this binding. I'm not going to be writing this, otherwise the video is going to be too long and people is going to be falling asleep. So make sure that we have selected all the bindings we want, make sure that all the bindings are properly done, go to configuration, make sure that all the gateways devices are already set up and they are selected. The same should happen in Modbus. So whenever we have finished, the only thing we have to do is go to the standard cloud and make sure that the gateway has communication with the hub. In order to perform that test, we have to test the standard cloud connectivity by pressing this button. In this window, if you press Start Complete, it's going to start following step by step the path to get to the hub. In this case, we saw that the gateway is available, the connection status is okay, the broker is reachable, and the connection is established. So all went good. We can move forward here. We close this window. We go to send and receive, and what we are going to do is we are going to load the created project to the gateway. We are already connected, so we send it to the gateway. It's asking us to save. I'm going to save it in Paris, France petrol station. So I name it, yes. I want to replace. So now it's sending the configuration to the gateway. So the configuration is sent, the download is completed. So please connect again to the device whenever it is ready. So I go again to the communication tab, and the gateway is rebooting and it's connecting to the server to send all the information to the hub and so on. So I need to wait until it refreshes a little. I refresh it, and now I see with the new name, Paris, France, petrol station. The device is already rebooted and the configuration is already sent to the cloud, so I can connect to it. I'm connected, so I can go again to this very last tab to see the diagnostics. I refresh it, and I see values coming. So I see that the values I'm reading here are the values I have in the thermostat, the values I have in the lights, and the values brought from the meter. So if I go and check the values, I should see everything here in these two windows. You have like a log, when you can debug and so on. Then we will be creating as well a video for you to know how to use maps, so we will go deeper later on. I believe that with this information, just you have enough for a basic configuration. So now we are going to close the maps, and we are going to go to the cloud to assign the configured gateway to a user for the widgets and the devices to appear in the dashboard, and for the user and for everybody to start controlling that. Okay, so let's close this and let's go to open the browser. Once we have configured the gateway using the maps configuration tool, and we have made sure that the gateway can communicate with the hub, we have to assign that gateway to a standard cloud user account. In order to do that, we can open any web browser and go to stcloud.intesis.com. Then we are going to be in the web-based front-end login screen. If we don't have any account, we can create one, just clicking on create account. Since we are going to be adding the gateway into an account already existing with the petrol stations from Madrid and from Barcelona configured, we just need to enter here the user account by the email and the password. Once we have selected the account we want to log in, we just sign in. Here in the web-based front-end main screen, we see the dashboard for monitoring and controlling the devices already in this account. We can as well go to the Scenes menu, we can see the calendar as well, and we do have here some settings. So let's go to the dashboard to see what we have. Here we see that we have some devices already here, and they are organized in zones. We see here one zone called Spain, and one subzone called Barcelona, and one subzone called Madrid. And inside of these subzones, we see thermostat, 2 lights, and a meter. These are devices added from different gateways. So if we want to add our gateways in here in the dashboard, the only thing we need to do is come here and select the add button. Here, everything we're going to add is going to be done through this button. For the moment, we are going to add a gateway. To add a gateway, we have to enter here the assignation key. The assignation key is a 26 alphanumeric digits, unique for each gateway. That alphanumeric number is going to be written in the side of the gateway. So we have to make sure we have it before coming here. So I just write it here and clicking verified code. The front end is going to be talking with the hub just to grab all the configuration in the gateway to bring it to the front-end dashboard. And as we see here, all devices we have created in the gateway are appearing here automatically. From here, we can start controlling and monitoring all the devices, sorry. We see here the thermostat, that was one of the devices created. We see the light, we see the meter, and we see the other light. If we come here, we see the widgets created, the on off, the temperature, the set point, and the mode. So if we want to change the mode, this is on. If we want to turn the thermostat off, we can turn it off. Here we do have the temperature. Here we have the set point. If we want to modify it, we can either come here and modify the number, just moving a little bit this ball, or we can either as well go up and down just using the buttons. If we want to change one of these multi-states, if it's heating, we can change it to auto or dry, or we can even set it to cool. Just when we pass by here, we see each bullet, what's the meaning of each bullet. If we want to do it in another way, we can either click here as well, and we have all the options available, and we can go and select the one we want. So as we see, we've done nothing but entering the code, and all devices are here in the common dashboard with the rest of them. So this is very easy configuring front end, because we have to do nothing but entering the code, and we can start doing everything. If we don't like the names here and we want to organize the same way the other devices are, we need to start adding zones and subzones. In order to do that, we go to the add menu and we select add zone. So here we are going to be adding another zone called France. The name of the zone at the end it doesn't really matter. I am just trying to follow the logic by this use case, because they have Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, so we are going to create one zone called France and one subzone called Paris. So we create France, so we see how it appears here. We come here and we are going to be adding a new zone called Paris. So we come here, we add the zone, we type here Paris, and now we are going to set it inside of France. So we create it. Now, when we have the organization done, we are going to be moving the devices to the corresponding zone. So we in order to customize a little bit these devices, the only thing we have to do is bring the mouse to the device widget, and here click on the engine. Once we click here, we have two options, one for settings, for changing the settings, and another one for sharing. For the moment, we are going to start with the settings. So we click in there and we have this menu. In this menu, we see the device name. This name is the name we gave to the device in the maps. So we are going to have it always in there just for us to know how it is called in the project created in map. But since we are going to be doing it, moving it to another zone, Paris is not needed. We can use the alias we want. We can change the language, we can name in another way, so I am going to delete just Paris because that's going to be in Paris, so there is no need of that much information. So I set the name I want, and I'm going to move it to Paris because that's the area we want it to be. I'm going to be doing the same with the rest of the devices in an easy and quick way. So we click in here, settings, delete the name and move it to the zone and save it. And just for the last one, we do exactly the same. We delete it, we set it to Paris, and we save it. Now we have all the devices set inside of the corresponding subzone called Paris. As we see, when we move them, we can as well be moving and controlling the widgets at our will. As we see here in this other installation, we see that we have here the thermostat and we have all the information. But we see here it's very easy to monitor everything because just by in a glance we see like the thermostat is off, this one is on, the meter is in 230 33, this other thermostat is off, and we see here that we have no values at all. So for monitoring the values, we have to click on the device and check one by one. That's because we haven't promoted yet any widget as we did in the previous installation. So let's try customizing a little bit more the dashboard for us to see the general information all here in a glance. So in order to do that, what we have to do is just select the gateway we want to customize and go and try promoting the widgets. The same way we were customizing the devices, we are going to do with the widgets. We just click in the engine appearing when we pass the mouse by, we click in there and we have the signal settings. Here we do have the alias, on-off is already for me, so I'm not going to be changing it. I need just this value to appear in the device widget. So I click in here, I save, and I see how the off button, the off value appears here in the thermostat. I will be doing the same with the temperature, and I will be doing the same with the mode. Since this is the set point and I may have many different set points, I'm going to customize this and I'm going to write here temperature set point. So if I save it, I see here how we have temperature set point already written. We can do that with all devices we have here. We promote this and we promote as well the illuminance. So we save it, now we have on 400, we can do it with all of them. If we go here, we do have here the gateway. If we click here, we have the gateways of this account. We see here that this is Paris France petrol station gateway, so we have here some general information of the widget, of the gateway. If we click here, we can remove the gateway. We see here the MAC address, the serial number of the gateway. We see the IP address, if that's in the STP or not, what time zone it is set up to. If we have made any mistake here and we want to change the time zone, we can change the time zone by clicking here. We do have here the firmware version. We see it's updated. If there is any firmware update, then by clicking here, the gateway is going to be updated. We see that we have as well here one license for 32 devices and that we are only using just 4, and that we have created 11 widgets up to 384 available. We have some general information as well of the created devices. So this information is gateway general information just for some magazines, some settings, and some general overview. If we come back to the dashboard, you see that it's very easy to have here everything configured in the same dashboard. We have all the devices on those dispersed installations, on those dispersed petrol stations. We do have all of them in the same dashboard, as we see, very easily. We have been customizing the tower wheel. We could have left the way they were. That's easy and fast, so it facilitates a lot the commission. But that's not the only good point here. Imagine that now we want to provide local control. We want to have, in Paris, for example, we want them to have control of the installation. So as I said before, we don't need to install any software or any hardware or anything. We just need to create an account on the standard cloud platform, and once the account is created, we can start sharing the devices with them. Once we share these devices with them, when they log into the account, they will see all the devices as we saw at the very beginning, in the very top of the list. They will be able as well to customize at their will and to organize the way they want. So for sharing the device, we just need to click in the engine and go to share. Here we are going to be sharing the thermostat, and we are going to be sharing it with a user in that petrol station. And for the thermostat, we want that user to be monitoring the device, but we don't want them to be able to change any value in here, so we don't give them control permission. We share it, so that's it. Sorry, I wrote here the email in a wrong way, so if we go ahead and we share it, now it is done. Now we see here the email address that we've been sharing the device with him just for monitoring. They don't have any viewing option. This functionality is very useful because if we enter an email and it doesn't exist, it's telling us that the email address entered is not valid, so we can check if we have mistyped, or we can ask that person to create an account. Okay, so let's go now and let's try sharing as well this slide. We do the same. We pass by the mouse, we click on the engine, we go to share. We're going to be sharing with that same user. We're going to be sharing the device, but in this time we want them to have control of the lights, so they have not only monitoring permission but controlling permission as well. So we share it, and the device is already shared, as we can see here in the message appearing in the top. So that's basically it. As we see, we just share the devices, so with that user, and that user will be able to monitor just the devices shared at any time using both the web-based dashboard. So in a normal computer with a dashboard should be more than enough, or they can even as well download the application we have available for Android and for iOS. So that's basically it for this webinar. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. I hope as well it's very helpful for you, the information provided here, and thank you very much for your time.